Travis Hunter, you are a Jacksonville Jaguar. We are the Jag Bros, three diehard Jaguars fans, three brothers, grown up watching a ton of Jacksonville Jaguars drafts. This was, in many ways, one of the biggest just in terms of moves. The Jags traded potentially a king's ransom to move up from 5 to 2, and we're recording this really honestly just minutes after the move. We'll edit and get this out hopefully to you all Thursday evening, but this is just gonna be our first initial reactions. Jaguars have just officially, let me pull up the exact trade, lots of picks for lots of picks. Jaguars sent their number 5 pick, a second round pick, a 4th round pick, and their 2026 first round pick. In return, they got the number 2 overall pick where they drafted Travis Hunter, the Browns 4th round pick, and the Browns 6th round pick. So who wants to get us started? Initial reactions on this big move for James Gladstone and for the Jags.
I'll start it off because I am super excited about this very splashy, bold move like James Gladstone said he wanted to do. And when he was out at the Rams, they were willing to trade away first-round picks if it's the right guy. I think time will tell. If we go out and make the playoffs, then this was a good trade. That's a much later first-round pick next year, and you're giving up like a late 20s pick versus if we go out and we end up being another top 5 pick, then it wasn't a very good trade because then we just gave up a top 5 draft pick, and that would be unfortunate. But this is going to bring a lot of news and media to Jacksonville. Travis Hunter is going to play both ways. I'm guessing he's going to start fully on offense and then rotate with Jarrian Jones on the outside. So that way he can take some breathers on defense and Jarrian Jones goes in. And then when he needs to go back in, he goes back in. It's a pretty good setup for him. I think it fits perfectly for the Jaguars. And it's going to be a very exciting year to see what Liam Cohen does with Travis Hunter, BTJ, and Trevor Lawrence.
So I'm going to start with the positive. I love Travis Hunter. He was the guy I wanted all along. He is, I think, one of the best players in the draft besides Abdul Carter. Both of those guys were really high on. And I'm excited he's a Jaguar. He fits a lot of things that we needed. We talked about needing an additional corner. We talked about needing a wide receiver. I'm sure we'll speculate on how we're going to use him, but I think you almost certainly are going to see him on both sides of the ball because you don't spend that type of draft capital on just a corner or even just a wide receiver. But man, the price tag is insane. You're essentially trading 3 first-round picks for him. Like and guess what? These are the type of trades that never pan out for teams. It is so rare for a team to trade everything. You think about what the Redskins did years ago, trading up to get RG3. You think about all these other guys that were can't miss type guys. That's just so much draft capital to be giving to move up 3 spots.
You're just so wrong. Those were for quarterbacks when they were needed a quarterback and they thought that was the guy. And then the quarterback fails. This is not a quarterback. This is
worse. Yeah, you're talking about spending that much draft capital on
a guy that plays 2 positions
or a guy
and it was not 3. You traded 2 first rounds and you got their first round. You give up next year's, and if you make the playoffs, it's a late first round. You gave up a second, which you're going to have to give up anyways if you were moving forward, and then you get back actually a sooner 4th round pick because the 4th round that we traded was like 120 and then we got 105 I think from them. So it's not like, so the 4th rounds are a wash. We get a 6th round from them, and then so technically we only gave up a 2nd round this year and a 1st round next year. And if you get a late 1st round pick next year because you make it to the playoffs, then it's almost like you just traded 2 second rounds, which I'm willing to do for Travis Hunter.
But for our 2nd round pick this year is essentially a 1st rounder because you were a few picks
not
away
in this
from the
terrible draft.
This is not that terrible of a. This is not that terrible. Everybody said this that the middle chunk of this draft, you don't have the high top end talent that you've had, but you have a very healthy middle there, and
because all the 2nd round people can also be picked up in the 3rd round and maybe even the 4th round. There's a ton of people but they're not second round picks. They're a second through fourth pick this year.
Name a time when trading this much draft capital has worked out for a team. Jack,
the biggest example here, I saw this on X, was the Falcons traded up for Julio Jones. They moved up to number 6. It's an all-in move. Obviously, the Falcons love that move. The other players that they gave up, it was bad drafting. I think it was the Browns that they moved up. So, you get a Hall of Fame player, but it is an all-in move. Like, there is no question, even if you're talking about multiple seconds or a late first or,
how many years did the Rams not have a first-round pick and they still dominated the draft? James Gladstone is a good enough picker that he doesn't need to go ahead and get a safe first-round pick. He'll find someone in the second, third round.
Let's be honest, though. This is Gladstone's first pick. I think sometimes we give Gladstone a ton of credit for the Rams selections when the reality is he was in the room, but he was not making the call.
Thank you, Jack.
James Gladstone will be defined by Travis Hunter. It is like trading up for a quarterback in the sense of you gave up a ton. Now, I also love Travis Hunter. And here's where I think it was probably less bad of a move or less crazy of a move that you may think, JT, because it's something we've talked about just in leading up to the draft. We all felt like there was a big drop off after the top 2 or 3 guys. So you were going to get stuck in no man's land where the Browns did take Mason Graham, a guy that the Jags were slotted to take a lot. There's a big reality. He's just not a difference maker. He's got really short arms. He did not test. He did not have good 2024 tape. He was amazing in 2023 when Michigan was superstars everywhere on the defense and dominated and just crushed everybody. So it was a big risk, but you could have got stuck at 5 with a guy that easily could have busted. And then,
could have gotten stuck taking a first round pick that didn't play. If Mason Smith ends up becoming a much better player, he came on late last
back
year.
Inside.
But here's the reality: he may not have played.
That's ridiculous. But I'm not even going to address that. Well, if you don't draft,
you don't draft in the second round. You just got a free agent who was a very good inside defensive tackle, played outside for some.
Well, then you don't.
Reason.
Then obviously they wouldn't have taken Mason Graham. They're not going to draft their 5th overall player to be a rotational defensive tackle. Then they would have got Genty. Or you trade back.
We have Travis Etienne and Tank.
You trade back, but either way. But so hold on.
There's no one to trade back to.
Let me get in here because Jack, you said the Atlanta Falcons Julio Jones trade. That is a fair trade thing, but here's the reality: they gave up their first, which was their 27th pick, their future first, and their current second, which by the way happened to be like the 55th pick or whatever. So it's not a true apples to apples because you're talking about moving up 3 draft spots. Like you could have had a situation where you had Mason Graham or Genty or some sort of other trade, plus either a wide receiver and or a defensive line guy.
Because no one traded with the Browns.
How is that obvious that nobody was trading? Nobody was trading with the Browns because
traded out.
Well, no, the Browns did trade out because they just got a draft haul from people that way overpaid.
I mean, they would have traded further back if the Bears really wanted Genty or the Denver Broncos or whoever was going to trade for him. They would have tried. Obviously, it wasn't that good of a trade back, so you don't do it. They would have been stuck at 5, and then you get a running back that you don't need, or a defensive tackle that you don't need, or an offensive tackle who's a right tackle, which you already just drafted a first-round right tackle. I mean, it just was a bad spot for the Jaguars.
The Jaguars weren't in a bad spot. It broke our way. We also
have 2/3 and 2/4. If we need to, we can trade back into the second round.
And what? Give up our second round for the following year?
No, you give up the other 3rd and 4th, and you move into the second. So now you have a first, a second,
nobody's accepting that. Nobody's accepting that. Nobody's accepting a 3rd and a 4th to move back into the second. What team is accepting that?
Into the late second, maybe.
No, nobody's accepting that. Just because how much it cost us to move up 3 spots.
Yes, because you're moving from 5 to 2, not
good teams don't do this. Like you don't see the Eagles do it. And it almost, let me put it this way. Statistically speaking, here's the reality. The probability.
The 32nd or the 30th or the 29th.
Well, there's a reason why.
To move up because that's because they're good. They just started. They got to build something first.
Overpaying here, like here's the reality. I like Travis Hunter. If we took him with the second overall pick because we had the second overall pick, I'd be saying A plus. This is amazing, best player in the draft. This is awesome. But for the price, the probability of this working out to be in our favor is not great. Let me put it this way. It's not ideal because you essentially paid a very similar you saw the Panthers do this for Bryce Young. You saw the 49ers somehow get bailed out when they did that for Trey
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance, thank you.
You saw
the
this
Griffin.
from Mitch Trubisky.
This feels like Herschel Walker. This feels like Percy Harvin. This feels like one of those guys that just can't miss, but he didn't quite have the same NFL career that everybody was projecting. Because if he's going to play both ways, which I think he will play at least a majority of snaps both ways, the chance of him getting hurt are higher than if he'd only played one way because he's just on the field in the NFL more often than not. And look, I think he'll be a good player. And if we took him with the second overall pick, I would love it. But that's just so much draft capital. So here's the reality. You need him to be Deion Sanders, but even if he is Deion Sanders, the likelihood of you walking away from Barry Sanders plus a startable defensive end or a startable wide receiver that you could have gotten in the second round and whatever your 15th overall pick is next year, it's just a lot of chips to be putting on Travis Hunter.
Herschel Walker didn't work out.
He did not work out the way they thought
for
in the
NFL.
Trade.
Yeah, I mean they trade. I believe. I mean a ton. I can't remember exactly, but I mean it was an insane and lopsided trade.
Pro Bowler, All Pro.
I think you and I have different ideas. He had 2 seasons over 1,000 yards rusher. So when you trade all of that piece, so to your point, Joey, he was all of that in a bag of. He was everything coming out of Georgia. He was incredible, but he actually he only had 1 year with Dallas where he had 1,500 yards rushing. All the other years he was way under. He had 1 year as well over 1,000 yards with Philly, but in a 10-year career, most of the time he was averaging about 600 yards. He's been known as one of the biggest busts. So he's not going to the NFL Hall of Fame, and he did not have this amazing career that you think he had. He had that at Georgia, which is when he won the Heisman Trophy.
I mean, look, there's no question it is a massive risk. And look, I mean, you can scroll on X right now, and I hope Jags fans will jump in the comments because this is a move that people either love or they hate. Like, there is no riding the fence. And overall, I love the move. I agree we paid too much. Losing the
Jags would have never done this.
Correct.
The bad Jaguars are the Jaguars who are used to being these old Jaguars. Oh, we need all this draft capital. Guess what? The Jaguars picks suck. So if we get less picks but greater players, I'm all for it.
We just swung to the other extreme.
Exactly. Swinging to the other end of the pendulum is not the solution. Correct. But I will say, I love the aggressive nature because, again, the NFL is a hyper-aggressive. If you kind of play it safe, you just don't win. So we talk about the Eagles. Obviously, they dominate. They're set up to potentially now have a dynasty. They go for really, really aggressive picks. They go for a Jalen Carter that no one wanted to touch because he had all the off-the-field issues. They go for guys that are, at the end of the first round that people are like, he's, Cooper DeJean. Hey, can he really be a good, Pro Bowl level corner because he's a white corner, and we just don't see that in the NFL that often. Or they go for a Quinyon Mitchell from a small school in the first round. They make big, bold moves, and it pays off. This is James Gladstone putting all of his chips on the table. There is risk, but to me, he is the best player in the draft, and I thought we were going to get stuck staying at number 5. And I do think, Joey, your point is valid that I think we floated all these rumors this week that we want to trade back, that we want Ginty, that we're talking to Chicago, trying to hype up Ashton Ginty, and people just weren't interested in giving up very much to move to 5 because they felt like it was kind of a stuck position. We got out of no man's land by blowing it up and going all in, saying, hey, here's all of our chips. And yeah, Travis Hunter is going to have to be a Hall of Fame level player. He's going to have to be what ESPN called, he's got to be Shohei Ohtani of the MLB, someone we have not seen in baseball
Correct.
Since Babe Ruth, right?
Correct.
Someone who can truly be dominant at corner and wide receiver. Like when I broke down Travis Hunter, I thought, oh, he's going to be superstar corner and, see 5 to 10 snaps on offense, he's got to be more than that. He's got to
Correct.
be a difference maker on both sides of the ball, which we need and he wants to do. Can he do it? I don't know, because to be honest, it's never really been done at that high elite level, even
Correct.
really Deion Sanders doing it. So it's a bold, risky, probably less than 25% chance it works out where we crush this trade. But at the same
25%
time,
chance where we crush the trade? I think that's way too generous. I think
I
there's a
think Travis
5
Hunter is that good, though.
Well, fair. I think there's a 5% that we crush. I think there's a 25% chance that we broke even essentially, and a greater than 60% chance that we miss. But Joey, here's a question for you, because you're obviously plugged in. You listen to more 1010XL and have obviously heard some of the things that Tony Baselli and Gladstone have been saying over the last few months. One of their big emphasis is, if you want to be a good team with sustained success, you have to be getting bigger in the trenches, offense and defensive line. The reality is we are not going to go offense or defensive line with either pick 1 or pick 2, because we don't have it anymore now. So what is that like? How do I square that circle right now? Because it feels very counter to what the message that they've been saying.
You can get good offense and defense linemen if you're good at evaluating talent. You can get them in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. How many
So how
linemen
many
aren't first rounders? How many busts of offensive linemen are from the first round? Like, you're
Most on
actually
the former Jacksonville Jaguars teams
That's
of the
true.
2010s.
But no. The offensive tackle is one of the highest hit rates statistically of when you pick them in the first, especially top 10 picks. So
Except for
again,
Jacksonville. But yes.
well, but even Jacksonville. I mean, Eugene Monroe turned out to be like a very solid offensive lineman for a long time.
Luke
Obviously, Jokel did not
No.
was a bust, but
No.
that was maybe one of the worst draft classes ever. So how do you square that circle? Because taking
you have 2 picks in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th. You can go shore up that big line right there. As you just said, this is a deep draft class for 2nd to 4th to 5th rounders.
we don't have a second.
I understand we don't have a second, but we have 2/3 and 2/4. So that means you have 4 chances in this big pile. We had the most draft picks out of everyone in the NFL. It's okay that we went and traded some of them.
If we got rid of
I
our
agree
6th and
with
7th
that
picks.
1,000%. My only concern, and the only reason I can't give this an A, and again, this is immediate reaction. Maybe I'll get more on the hype train even more, in a couple days when we'll do our full grades for each and every pick for the Jaguars. The only reason I can't give this an A is because you gave up a first round pick in 2026. And I love your optimism, Joe. You're always picking the Jags win. I just don't think we're still in win now mode. I think we're still several pieces away. And to your question, JT, I think the Jags just felt like Travis Hunter was that good that you kind of break all the rules to go get that level of a historic playmaker.
But here's the thing. Every single guy in the draft, like the guys that are the quote unquote can't miss guys, we see it time and time again, and they miss. Even Andrew Luck, who turned out to be that can't miss guy for the Colts, ends up retiring 10 years earlier than they probably were expecting. And so that's the frustrating reality is the teams like the Eagles, the teams like the even the Bears at this point, like they end up picking the smart players, or at least do smart things with their draft capital.
Yeah, and the Bears have been good as long as we have, and they're one of the oldest franchises.
Well, I'm talking about the Bears in the last 2 years with basically fleecing the Panthers.
Although they did just take Colson Loveland a couple of minutes ago over Tyler Warren, which I did not like that pick at all. But yeah, fair.
Hold on. I just ran a simulator. Let's just see the big men that will be available in the round 3 where we would draft if we don't trade back up. You have Ozzie Tapolo from Boston College, a very good offensive tackle. Marcus Embo, a offensive tackle and guard and center. You have Cameron Williams from Texas. Emory Jones from LSU. You have Miles Frazier and Dylan Fairchild
Joey, here's the
great
reality. Nobody
guard,
knows any of those people except for hardcore Jag fans that are looking at the
Alfred
offensive
Collins,
tackle and guard.
TJ
They do
Sanders.
know who Mason Graham was. They do know who Campbell was, the top tackle and the top guard. Or sorry, the top defensive tackle and the top offensive tackle. So
Okay,
I
it's not my
appreciate
fault you don't understand who these people are. Guess what? You build the draft through your second, third, fourth rounders.
Yeah, but if
That's
you
where the meat of your team comes from. You have a few good first rounders, and then your meat of your NFL team is from second, third, fourth, fifth. And if you miss on those, like the Jaguars have historically done, you have a bad team. But
well,
if you go and hit like the Rams do, even though you don't have a first round, but you hit in the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth, then you have a very good team.
but you have to now hit a grand slam with the pick, not because he was taken in your first round pick, but because he essentially cost you fine 2 firsts and your second.
No, but it didn't cost you 2 firsts because you got there first. So it
It
cost you a
did.
first and a second. That's exactly what it cost you.
You are picking. You have 2 firsts, and you are choosing with those 2 firsts. You are choosing one guy, and so now your margin
Yes.
for error just got much smaller. So here, great. Let's grade it, Jack. I think you said you couldn't give it an A because of that. What do you grade it, Joey? What do you grade it? And I'll grade it as well.
I mean, I'm still on the border of B plus, A minus, but I've got to go B plus because I think 2026, number one, is going to be a better draft class. I'm a draft nerd. I love diving in deep. I think that's going to be overall a deeper class in the first round. And so I think if the Jags land where I think they legitimately will, somewhere in the 15 to 20 range, which is significantly better than top 5, you're still giving up a very, very good impact game-changing player.
Yes.
And someone in the top 35 who, okay, maybe they're not a true first-round grade, but I do think they were a true early to mid second round grade. Like, you are giving up a quote unquote Jaden Higgins. You are giving up a quote legit edge rusher. I mean, there are still a lot of positions on this team that I'm like, I just don't love. That all said, I love Travis Hunter. I think he is heads and shoulders above even Abdul. I think there's legit risk with Carter as well. Travis Hunter, he fills 2 needs. He is best available player. The Jags gave up too much, in my opinion, but they also have the right mindset, which is hyper aggressive. Like, I'm tired of just begging for Balky to trade up in the second round or in the third round and it never, ever, ever happening. And we sit on 10, 11, 13 picks in these last 2 years. So I like the mentality. I think we lost the trade in terms of just giving up too much, but heck, sometimes that happens with quarterbacks, with superstar level players. And Travis Hunter is going to be exciting. Like, he's going to sell tickets. He's going to sell jerseys. He's going to bring a lot of attention to Jacksonville. And it's a career defining move for Gladstone, for Cohen, for Baselli, for this big 3. Again, I can't help but give any other illustration. They're putting all their chips in on the table, which maybe is not the smartest move. But if you were going to do that, I would do that on Travis Hunter. So my grade here is a straight B plus for the Jags for the pick.
I'll go with A minus.
A minus. That feels low for you, Joey, considering how much you're defending it.
Okay, well, because I'm defending it because you are grading it practically like an F.
That's not that I haven't graded yet, and that's nowhere near where I'm grading it.
But
it's lower.
What I'm trying to say, obviously, would I have liked to given up less draft picks? Sure. But I'm okay with what they have done. I understand what they have done. I understand that we have a lot of picks. We have the ability to trade back into the second round if we need to. We have the ability to hit in the third or fourth round with 4 picks. It's not the end of the world like some of you Jaguars are crying about. This is something that will be very good for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a player who looks like he is very happy to come to the Jaguars. I'm tired of drafting people in the first round and they look upset that they got picked by the Jaguars. This is going to bring national media to us. It's going to be a very good move. You now have your wide receiver 1, your wide receiver 2, you have a cornerback, you have things that you need to go play, and then now you go get your big men in the third, fourth round, and then you fill in a little bit. You don't need a awesome edge player because you have two of them already. You just need a backup edge guy. You don't need to go get a starter linebacker. You have Ventrell Miller and Devin Lloyd. Hopefully they get a little bit better, but you go backfill there. You backfill all these other places, but you went and you got a starter for two positions right away.
I'll just say before GT gives his, and here's why I don't think Jags are in win now mode, because that mentality just hasn't worked for the Jags. Yes, hopefully Gladstone is an infinitely better drafter, than Balky, and we will find out day 2 and day 3 of this draft and how the rest of the draft class does. But that's what we've done for the last 2 years. We drafted Yasir Abdullah saying, he's just a backup depth guy. Well, guess what? No impact. We drafted Miles Cole last year. He's a project. He's 24 years old. He's 99, athleticism, all this stuff. Well, guess what? No impact. So,
Miles Cole was a 7th rounder. It's going to take
exactly
him a second. Well, he was just drafted. Give him a year to develop.
Never mind. Well,
I don't think Miles Cole makes the team.
Correct.
He may not, but he's a 7th round pick, and you take a shot.
Fine. But what we're talking about is usually your 2nd round guy is starting for you, not your 3rd string tight end or your backup defensive tackle. But I digress.
I understand. That's why that guy is no longer picking for us, because he was terrible at evaluating. He said Hutchinson's arms were a little too short, so that's not why we're going to draft him. Oh, guess what? He had the most sacks and pressures for the Detroit Lions when he only played 5 games.
You know who else has short arms? You know who else has short arms from Michigan? You know who else has short arms from Michigan, who I think will probably be a stud. Here's what I'll say. If we had the 2nd pick because we lost to the Titans.
You think Mason Graham's going to be a stud?
Heads up. If we had the 2nd overall pick because we lost to the Titans and we picked Travis Hunter, I give this an A+. Like I said, I love Hunter. I like what he can do. I think it makes a ton of sense. It's a great pick. But if you're trying to tell me I can either have Travis Hunter or I could have Mason Graham / Genty plus a wide receiver or a defensive end or an offensive tackle in the beginning of the 2nd round, plus potentially a starting safety that we get in the mid 1st round, then it starts to become a lot more like when you actually start putting positions and names at some of those players. It's like, would I really want to lose those 3 for this one? And that is where time will tell. So I'm at like a B- C+. Like I get that you're like, wow, I thought you'd be an F. Like I'm not an F because I love the player. I just think it's way, way, way too expensive. And probabilistically, the probability is not on our side. Just that all 3 of those guys would have been quote unquote misses for Jacksonville, and that this guy has to be at least a triple, more likely a home run or grand slam in order to.
He's got to be a home run.
He's got to be at least a home run to break even on that trade. And he really has to be a grand slam in order to. He needs to be. You need to have just gotten Cooper Kupp plus the guy from the Jets that was awesome.
Sauce
Gardner. Yeah, that's what you needed to have drafted. If you just drafted that, then the Jaguars would have won that trade. But if that is not who we drafted, which I just don't think we did, I think we drafted Percy Harvin, who with maybe Sauce Gardner, and so now it starts to get a little bit dicey.
With that.
Well, Percy Harvin also didn't have the NFL career that everybody thought he would.
Correct.
Well, and that's my point.
As bad of a NFL career.
He didn't have a bad NFL career,
lots
but
of injuries.
You're talking about 2 like I said, if you took him at 2nd overall pick without all the other trades, fine. Like that's like I would be.
Harvin,
I would not be upset about that.
800 yards, 868 yards, 967 yards.
I mean, how many times?
Yards,
how many times did he?
5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns.
How many times did he break 1,000?
Never, but he was always at 800 to 900 yards. What? Like,
yeah, but you don't trade multiple firsts to get 800
700 yards. Yeah. I mean,
unless he's
if
all
you get
pro
Percy Harvin and Sauce Gardner,
Zay Jones put up that type of production.
Here, I think I think Travis Hunter is light years better receiver, just personally, and I'll give some of the numbers maybe now, or maybe we'll save it for when we give our full draft breakdown of why I think he is a better receiver than that. It is a fair point where you look at Percy Harvin's career. I think he was significantly better than he produced. He just had a lot of injuries, and he was the speed, a little bit smaller, of a wide receiver too, which is one of the knocks on Travis Hunter's game. And if he is going to be your legit full-time wide receiver, full-time legit starting outside corner, which he wants to be, which I think the Jaguars made the move for him to be, then all of a sudden, if he deals with injuries, that does create a massive problem because all of a sudden you have two holes on your depth chart if Travis Hunter is out, which that's really hard. There are challenges, and now all the pressure is on Liam Cohen. Hey, you've got a superstar level guy, and you've got to be hyper creative on offense and defense to do what, again, no one has ever done at that level in the NFL. Again, I love Travis Hunter enough to say I think he's head and shoulders above everyone else in the draft. I believe he can do it, but it is a massive, massive, massive risk. Let's hope it pays out in the Jags' favor.
Hey, Joey, to your point, even though he didn't receive for 1,000 yards, he did have the 1 year we had 967. He also had 345 yards rushing. But even if you're adding up all the rushing for Percy Harvin, that is, he only had one season where it's over 1,000, and he really only had 3 productive seasons. The rest of his 10 years were sub 500. And so you're talking about getting production.
When the injuries came.
Yeah, but yeah. So if you're telling me we're gonna get 3 seasons of 800 yards receiving and a couple of touchdowns from Hunter plus a shutdown corner, like that to me is still a loss. That to me is still a loss on the trade deal.
Let's say BTJ is obviously the number 1 wide receiver. He goes out, gets 1,500 yards. Travis is, wide receiver 2. He's right at 900, 1,000 yards, a handful of touchdowns. But you also have like Sauce Gardner, one of the top corners. Is that not good enough?
That is great, Joey. That is great if that is how he performs year in and year out. If he does that for 1 year, we can't all of a sudden start flying the flag saying this is the best trade. But my point is, if he falls off a cliff after year 2 or year 3, which is what happened to Percy Harvin, then no, it wasn't worth all of that capital. That's my point. Is you need to have that 800 plus.
He needs longevity.
I mean, he's got to do it. He's got to do for a grand slam, for a home run. He's got to be doing that for at least 5 years in Jacksonville.
And lead us to a Super Bowl.
Well, that'd be great too. But that's Trevor.
I have one question, and then I got a couple stats I want to throw out on Travis Hunter. Just, obviously everyone's going to be researching like crazy. Give us the details on Travis Hunter. Most of us watched him because he was just that level of player. He was exciting. Typically, you never watch Colorado football, but Travis Hunter was amazing. But here's the question. With all the draft capital that was just made, probably the biggest storyline of this draft class, who is now the face of the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise right now?
It's still Trevor.
I think it's a trio. It's going to be Trevor, BTJ, and Travis Hunter. It's going to be like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. It's going to be this nice wide receiver.
T. Higgins hanging on by a thread there.
Well, and you're also talking about you just traded 3 round picks for T. Higgins plus Sauce Gardner, maybe.
Yeah, I'd do that. You're telling me for 2 firsts and a second, I could have T. Higgins and Sauce Gardner?
That is a scenario where that works out. That is a scenario where I'm wrong.
Yes, that's the ideal. But I would also say, like, since we're doubling down and tripling down on comparing to Sauce Gardner fell off a cliff this past year. He was not the best corner on the Jets. So that is also another risk. Corners is really hard to have a 10, 11, 12 year dominant, 10, 11, 12 season dominant career.
Correct.
For a lot of reasons. And so,
well, it's because once they're considered that good, they just don't throw it to that side anymore.
That's not the only reason. Sauce Gardner did take a step back, and you've outlined.
They do. I mean,
you outline it all the time,
Ramsey, Joey. Corners drop off all the time. If you get just like
that's why you don't pay. That's why you don't pay for 3 first overall picks for a corner.
You didn't pay 3 first round picks. Stop saying that.
Fine, 2 first round picks and a high second.
No, stop. We got their first round pick. You're making it seem like we gave up last year, this year's, next year's, and like another one. You're being misleading.
That's not misleading. That's what
It is because
with
no, it's not,
with
because
one
you
selection,
get
with
their
one
first round pick,
selection,
so that's a wash. Your first round and their first round, wash. We
it's not a
traded
wash.
our fourth round and we got their fourth round, wash.
How many players will they choose
So
from
that
our
means
picks?
out
How
of
many
the
players will they choose with our picks in the first, second, and for next year's first? How many?
ours, our fourth,
3.
they picked
Thank you,
3.
Jack. And then
Okay, but we picked
how many players will we get from our
3.
picks? How in the first and second round of the next couple
We
years?
we got a first round, we get a fourth round, and we get a sixth round. 3 picks.
I'm not talking about the 6th round pick. You just said that was worthless a second ago. Anyways, we
Yeah,
have
with
plenty. We have
Balky
plenty of
picking, but
those.
with James Gladstone, it's going to
Oh,
be a first rounder.
But so they get to 3 choice. They get 3 cracks at it. We get 1. And you took if you are putting it all on a corner, fine. No corner's ever been taken that high ever. I don't think. No corner's ever been taken second because of the reason why you're outlining. So not only are you quote unquote reaching at that pick in general, you're reaching with the capital you just spent on that pick. If it is that he is primarily a corner. The last time a wide receiver was taken at number 2, Calvin Johnson. Travis Hunter ain't Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, but we've talked about this a ton leading up to the draft. Like, you can't just compare apples to apples. Like, this was a historically low top end of the draft.
2 players to draft.
Fine. Then why are you trading everything up for next year?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's why I can't give it an A. Like the 2026 first, like that's a letter grade change to me.
We are within the top 10 picks. It's not a good pick because you just gave a top 10 pick.
Which could happen. Like, look, you're talking about a new head coach. You're talking about a quarterback that still hasn't put it together. You're talking about just lost one of our top receivers in Kirk. We just lost our top tight end in Evan Ingram. I like some of the free agent moves, but our defense kind of still looks bottom 10 across the board. Fortunately, like the AFC South sucks right now, but this is not a legit contender team. We only make it far because our division is bad.
To make this not a bad trade, you must make the playoffs.
Even if you made the playoffs,
like
it's still not like you won that trade. You might break even.
Okay.
Because Jack, you were talking all about how everybody's been watching Travis Hunter. I agree. I watched him. He was so much better. He made Sanders actually look competent, which is why Sanders is falling like a rock in the first round tonight. But here's the other thing. The other person everybody was watching, including watching in the college football playoffs, was Genty. Like if you're really all about like there's the difference makers and a running back at 5 is ridiculously high too. All the same arguments of, hey, it's a weak draft class, all yada yada yada. I mean, you're talking about a Barry Sanders.
So I get the comp. The only thing I'll say on Genty is I just don't think he has the potential to be a second contract guy. Rushing and carrying the ball almost 400 times a season, like just the way he plays, so physical, it's amazing. I mean, he had almost a 50% missed tackle rate. This is a guy that you're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5 amazing years and then drop off a cliff. More like Zeke, more like Leonard Fournette.
To me, he ran more like Derrick Henry, who, oh, by the way, is still dominating the NFL in running back.
Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry.
Right. Derrick Henry's 50 pounds heavier than,
He's
Genty.
not Derrick Henry. And there's a very good... the best thing to look at it is it's like Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley was a good running back with the Giants, but you need a great offensive line for you to have a great running back. We do not have a great offensive line yet, so you don't go get a running back now.
Good, so we're going to be a contender.
Well, yeah, you make the playoffs with a good offensive line. You build it over the next year or two, and then once you have a good offensive line, then you can go get a first-round running back.
You're talking about the wear and tear on Genty while ignoring the fact.
I'm not ignoring it.
The fact that we're talking about a guy who's supposedly going to be playing 60 to 80 snaps a game in the NFL for us. You're talking. That's true wear and tear.
That is, yeah.
And by the way,
I mean,
if you pick
Cohen
Genty,
has to be a genius. Like that, like he's
And
got to be a genius to figure
if you
this
pick
out.
Genty, you also still have the chance to pick a high second and next year's first.
Yeah, I
Even
mean,
if
like that would have
Genty-
been a great option. I would have been
Even-
very excited. The Jacksonville connection, like I would be on here grading it probably pretty similar, B plus A minus.
I'd give it an A. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like Genty would have been a
at
great
at
pick.
5 would be an A.
Yeah.
If we had the second overall pick and we,
So what are you doing with Travis Etienne? Because
Nothing.
it's a
Nothing. He's
very-
walking next year. You're not
you're
paying
walking
him.
next year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand.
There's-
Well, I mean, you just picked up his 5th-year option, so it's
So?
his most expensive year.
So
And then what?
it's
you're
still
okay,
cheating.
one more year. Yeah.
You're paying one more year, and you essentially like all you're just doing a two-headed thing, and it's honestly it's probably ideal because then Genty doesn't have one extra year of wear and tear, and he has
Correct.
a chance to learn
Oh,
from.
wait, so you're not going
them.
to start Genty?
I mean, he's
No, you would, but you have him play 70, 80%
Correct.
of carries. Yeah.
60,
That's
40
not that
probably.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Bucky Irving and Roddy White, what they did with the Bucks last year with Liam Cohen. Bucky Irving was clearly the better back, but you put
Bucky
less
Irving
wear and
was
tear.
a 4th-round pick, not the top 5 pick.
I understand that, but like even Derrick
you
Henry, go back to Derrick Henry was not the first starter, I believe, for the Titans back then. I think they still had Johnson. Didn't they still have Chris Johnson for a year before Henry took over?
You can make him the second running back, but so what are you going to do with Tank? You just waste that pick?
Yeah, that was a wasted pick. You're
A
wasting
lot of
that.
Balky's picks are gonna be that. I mean, look at the number of guys we cut or traded for a 2026 7th-round pick. I mean, let's just be real. Gladstone did not think highly of AKA Trent Baalke, the greatest, Jaguars roster ever chosen or selected or whatever. Shad Khan said that it was assembled greatest team ever. Clearly, Gladstone did not think that. We did not bring back any free agents other than shout out to your boy, Cole Van Lane and Joey, that we did bring back this week. We traded, cut, moved on from pretty much everyone that Trent Baalke, other than BTJ, which Doug Peterson selected. Other than that, like everything else, he's like, yeah, okay. See ya.
Actually,
Sanders didn't take Sanders.
Yeah, of course not. Sanders is not a good quarterback.
Yes.
Derrick
Everyone
Henry
knew
was
that
actually a
except for,
second.
Mel Kiper.
Derrick Henry is a second round pick, which man, what a steal! And they had DeMarco Murray. So Johnson, there's a couple years after, but they had just gotten him from the Cowboys.
And hey, I mean, like running back is going to be an option, probably more 4th, 5th round. Like this is a deep running back class, so you're not
We don't
getting
need a
Ginty in
running
the
back.
4th round.
No,
But
you don't need a running. If we're taking a running back in the 3rd or 4th round, then what are we doing? Because like that makes
no,
zero
the
sense.
end of the 4th round. Yeah.
Even still, what are we doing? Because
You take a running back.
you either take Genty because you believe he's the next Barry Sanders, or you don't take it at all. Because like
Well, because you're about to
No,
only
like
have
you
one.
just said,
You only have one running back on your roster
no.
here in a couple weeks,
If
or sorry,
Etienne walks,
a year, which
then-
he will
then-
walk. Like
then-
you're not.
then
You're
get a
not.
rookie.
You're not
You'll
paying.
go get a
ETN.
running back. You just don't need a number 1 running back because most
Correct.
likely Tank will become the number 1, and then
Get-
you have
get it-
another guy backfill.
Get it with
Yeah,
your 5th round
50-50.
pick then, or
Yeah,
what your
Okay,
6th
into
round pick
4th
that
or
you just
5th.
well 5th
Yeah.
or 6th, like the 3rd and 4th.
That's
Joey,
fine. That's fine. I'm not arguing
Literally
that.
what
That's
I said. I said 5th or
semantics.
6th.
yes. Well, no, third and 4th is much different than 6th round running back. 6th round running back
Your
is the
3rd or 4th is where you go get your big men.
6th round guy is the guy. we
Okay,
got
most
from-
NFL disagrees with you right now. Is O line after O line goes off the board, but yeah, I mean, like you have to go do that because you don't have a 2nd round pick, so
I'm
you've got
talking
to
about
invest
what
in the
Jags
trenches.
need to do. I'm not saying what the.
I mean,
rest of the NFL is.
Look, the Jags offensive line next year is going to be average to below average. You have a
Which has
quarterback.
been forever.
Correct. You have a quarterback that
Nope,
is.
Patrick McCarry is good.
Oh,
If you
jeez.
Oh,
can,
brother.
what is he not?
He's
No.
he's average. He's
He's
probably
average to
20
below
to
average.
25th,
Yes,
guard
yes,
in the league
Yes.
for his
Yeah,
position.
I think he's better than Sheriff was.
Okay, so he's better than the
hopefully he
30th
gets
guard
on
in the
back.
league.
Yeah.
Sheriff was bottom 5.
Okay, where would you rank Macari?
Middle of the pack.
Oh, that's what we
Yeah.
just said. Average to below average.
He's average to above average.
He's not above
Oh,
average. He's
man.
not top 10.
I didn't
Why
say
the
he's top
Ravens
10.
just
why,
let
why
him
is
go for
above
nothing?
average?
10 to 15 would be top 10 or would be
Correct.
above average. Or like really 9 to
top
12,
20 is above
9 to
average.
12. Top 20. That's
No,
exactly what I
16
had.
is average.
Why is 16 average?
Because there's 32 teams in the leagues. 16 is right in
No,
the
but
middle.
there's two sides of the guards, so it's double.
Oh, so you're saying
You're saying he's a, oh my gosh, no way.
wow, so he's good. We're gonna hear his name on the NFL Top 100 here in a couple months. That's gonna be fantastic.
That's incredible.
I mean, he would need to have a very good season, but he could.
It's wild. Okay. Well, this is kind of free for all. This is our first reactions. We'll break down each pick
To have a
in
good
more
offensive
depth.
line, you need a new left guard and possibly new center.
All right, Joey, quick. I'm just curious. Where do you rate our, so you rate our current offensive line constructed at average to above average, right?
No, it's average to slightly below right now.
Okay, so exactly what we
You-
said. We
you
said
need-
average. We said average to below, but that's fine. And
you
then
said that for Patrick McCarr.
and then
I'm
wide
talking about the
receiver.
entire
No, I said for the whole thing. And then what about the wide receiver, running backs, and tight end? Where would you put us?
It all depends on Travis Hunter.
But assume you get 600 yards or 700 yards from Travis Hunter. That's obviously very productive.
above average.
Above average.
No, I mean it's got to be average.
You have, you have a
I'll give you
guaranteed number
Joey,
one wide receiver. With
I'll give
DGJ.
you I'll give you above average. I think that's fair. I think that those guys could produce at above average. Wouldn't say elite, but I could see like in that 8 to 12 range. Where do you put our quarterback?
He's a big old question mark.
Okay, let's say he's average to
Like the
above
rest of the
average.
team.
Yes. Let's say he's average to above average. So now let's go to defense. Where do you put our front seven?
Average.
Okay, and now where do you put?
Edges?
Fine. How do you rank the secondary?
Corner just got a lot better.
Sure.
Safety is an issue.
So maybe above average.
Whew. That is a hot take.
Above average corners now, below average
Oh,
safety.
that's a
Okay.
hot take too.
Okay, so fine. So we'll say
Oh, my
average.
stars.
We'll just say average. So
Did we not watch 2024
But
we
Joey,
we were last in the secondary by a mile.
So that's true.
Well, we got rid of half of that secondary.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
good. And we got the Texans 33-year-old safety.
I
We got
just said
Jarian
safety
Jones,
was the
who I
issue.
love.
Hold up. So
hadn't played outside
let
corner
me
in
finish.
2 years.
Let me finish my point here, Jack, with Joey. So we just
Tyson
went.
Campbell can't stay healthy.
We just went
Tyson
through.
Campbell.
Joey, we just went through 5 position groups, and you, who are very optimistic on the Jaguars, gave almost all of them an average rating. A couple of them is slightly above average. None of them elite. Now, how are we all of a sudden picking in the 25 to 32nd pick next year? When you, our most optimistic fan, is saying that we're mostly
Because
average
I think
across
we
the
will
board.
do exactly what Houston did last year. I think we'll win the AFC South, and I think we can win one game. That puts us at 25. I think we get back to what we were in 2022. I think we have a good regular season. We slightly beat Houston for the AFC South. We play a okay wild card game, or we play a wild card team. We win one, and then we lose to the next team, and we're building from there. And you just keep improving. We took a massive step back last year, but that was a hiccup. And then we get back to what we were in 2022, and then we start moving forward.
Even best case, amazing scenario like that, where we are a top 5, 10 team finishing in the league, it's going to be really hard next year because you're not going to have a pick to almost pick 60. That's really, really challenging because you need to always keep reloading in the draft.
And you overpaid your quarterback. So you don't have the ability to go out and sign a ton of free agents.
Correct.
Because of
Lawrence's
that, and
contract will
Walker,
kick in next year.
and Josh Hines Allen's thing. I think it's way more likely
Walker
that
will have to decide on him next offseason too.
The best case scenario feels way more likely to be in the Bucks Bengals area of 17 to 19 to 20 versus getting a win for Houston in the thing, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But Houston also got the benefit of playing the AFC, getting to play the Jags and the Titans, who guess what? The Titans will be better because they had literally nobody at quarterback last year. And Houston was a playoff team back-to-back years. So you're not talking about a team that like we don't have the benefit of playing just train wrecks everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a ton of picks next year. Granted, they're all in the lower end, but
Oh boy.
I mean, you have an extra fourth, an extra fifth, 1, 2, 3 extra six, 1, 2, 3, 4 extra sevenths. You can
So
easily
hopefully-
package up a lot of those and go
For
get
what, a
yourself.
fifth?
Well, no, if you get a fourth and you give a fifth and 2 sixths, that will get you to third round.
No,
second.
because nobody
No.
wants. No, who's trading a ton of 6 and 7s for a third or
Yeah,
second round
exactly.
pick?
That just never happens.
Most of those guys are not even going to be on your roster. Maybe the practice squad, and so you're talking about just a ton of just wasted picks, or you know what? Maybe one of those 7 guys, 2 of those 7 guys will be anything. It's like saying, hey, I'm going to do fantasy draft and I'm going to trade you my 13th, 14th, and 15th round players for a 6th round guy. Of course, nobody's going to do that.
All right. Well, let us know your thoughts. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, drop in the comments. Let us know your grade. I believe there's a way on Spotify to comment on this episode. Give us your grade for the move to trade up. Again, making a big move, all in, going for the Grand Slam move here. Travis Hunter. It's a big move, and we want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear where you're at. We're going to post on X as well, so make sure you follow us there. And then next week, we'll give our full grades, full breakdown of each of the Jacksonville Jaguars' new rookies of the 2025 draft class. Before we sign off, any final thoughts or something you want to see in day 2 and day 3 of the draft for the Jags?
I want to go get the big men in the second and fourth round, or third and fourth round. We need a defensive tackle, edge, offensive tackle, and then you can go fill a safety.
A lot of needs.
You got 4 picks.
Could have had 5.
Cry about it.
Well,
yeah, I agree.
Here we go. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, there was a lot of love and hate for BTJ last year. Now everyone absolutely loves it. Hopefully the same is true for Travis Hunter. The expectations are going to be infinitely higher, but we'll see. I mean, he did what no one thought he could do in 2024, and he's going to try to do the impossible in Jacksonville in 2025. So Travis Hunter, welcome to Duuuval, baby. And that is how we're going to sign off here tonight, Thursday night of the NFL draft from the Jag Bros. Duuuval.